We have a beautiful spring day here, and this is my white magnolia. What a beauty.
Years ago in Samaria, a woman went her way. Beneath the blazing desert
Doesn't have as many flowers on it this year, but not quite sure why that is. It could be that it's been rather dry, but it's always a beautiful time of the year. I love it when it comes out. White magnolia. This is an iris. Just a quick look around my garden. I have had the sprinklers on because it is very dry here. We haven't had very much rain at all. And the wisteria. Smells divine. And the maybush is beginning to come out. This just becomes just like snow. And it's a double maybush. Oh, I just love this time of year, don't we, Jackie? Now the wisteria over here, I've let it grow up that tree, and you can see how it's all in that tree. We'll probably eventually kill that tree, but it's not something that I'm terribly fussed with. And the Manchurian pears that were white a few weeks ago are now green with their leaves. And the crab apples will be the next in flower. And then that's a crepe myrtle. And this is a flowering pear, which is similar to the Manchurian pear over there. See how that's rounded? And this one's tall and shaped like a teardrop. There will be a mass of flowers. And the bulbs my friend Erin gave me, I've planted them around in different places and in my garden beds here. And this is one of my favourite little ground covers, the chocolate centre and pink petals. The garden is coming to life. Wisteria. And the tulip bulbs my friend Erin gave me. Thank you, Erin.
Sun to Jacob's well that day. She held upon her shoulders like a yoke, a water pot, full of all her burdens and the battles that she fought.
And these are Freesias. Got all sorts of different colours. When they're finished flowering, I just pick the seeds up and sprinkle them around my garden and let them grow wherever they wish. I love a wild garden. I'm not a very tidy gardener, as in, no weeds and so forth. I just like a wild, slightly tidy garden. And underneath this crepe, no, it's a white cedar. That's what it is, a white cedar. I've allowed the wisteria to grow up the tree. Again, not worried if it chokes the tree. Seems to be surviving quite well. Oh, it smells divine under here. My garden's coming to flower rather early for spring. Normally it takes about another 2 weeks for it to come into flower, and sometimes that happens. Have an early time, early flowering and a late flowering. And this is going to be my camellia bed. I used to have a whole lot of roses here, but they weren't doing very well because it's become a rather shaded part of my garden. So I transplanted the roses out the back and replaced them with camellias. And I'm busy mulching this area to try and cut down on the weeding. It's part of my gardening for my ageing. And the wind's gotten here. I've yet to fix this area up. I'll do that later today. And down here is one of my favourite parts this time of year, is when the wisteria comes out. Jack's going to have himself a seat. Are you a good boy? You're my garden buddy, aren't you? Wow. What a good boy you are. What a good boy. He's healed up nicely from his operation, haven't you? Yeah. We're very thankful to have you with us. And over here, the azaleas that I've planted and camellias are doing really well. This part of the garden, when it grows up, just looks divine. And also in this, got a bit of competition. In this part of my garden I have flowering pears. And when I first planted this part of my garden some 15 years ago, and they were quite small, these trees here. And I just planted them in a pattern. At first I planted 3, which I have over here. And then I decided I'd plant some more, and they form like a loop. And then I've got one, the really big one, which I showed you down the back there. And there's one behind the house. I'm telling you all that because when I started this part of my garden over 15 years ago, I didn't realise, but God was ministering to me later on what He'd been creating in my garden. And this part of my garden, as I've shared before, is called Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. And I had also designed a cross in there, which from a ground cover, but I had to remove that and I'll replace that with something else, may even put a cross in here. But I give you all that background to explain the next part, and that was one day when I was working in this part of my garden and God was inspiring me to create a biblical theme in my garden. He ministered to me, I want you to stand here and look and count how many trees you've got. So I counted them and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down the back and 1 behind the house, which makes 12. So they represent the 12 apostles. And even the one out the back ministered to me. I believe I had it ministered to me that that's like Judas. He was cast out the back when he denied Jesus Christ and led his enemies to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he was betrayed. He betrayed Jesus with a kiss. And Paul the Apostle is it's the biggest tree in this whole group of flowering pears. And so that's why I called this part of my garden Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Oh, and I forgot to mention this huge gum tree here represents God the Father overlooking his plan of redemption. And I've got other items in this garden which spiritually represent Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. So I hope you enjoyed that little explanation about how part of my garden was inspired to tell of the biblical story of Jesus Christ. I believe my garden is a prophetic garden, and that's the reason why. Because of stories like what I just explained. And when I have public gardens, open gardens, which I haven't had a huge open public garden for a while, people would come and they were actually captivated by the story that was being told. I let people know that it had a biblical theme, and they didn't seem to be bothered by that at all. They wanted to come and look at the beauty of the garden and also see the story that was being told. And if you want to find out more about my garden, you can check it out at my website at www.virginiasgarden.com.au. So this wisteria still has a little more lengthening in its flowers. It smells so lovely. And you can see the flowering pears, which represent the 12 apostles. They're coming out in flower. They come out later than the Manchurian pears. Isn't it a lovely day, Jack? Oh, such a glorious day. Praise you, Lord. And there's the flowering pear at the back of the house. Salvation than just one. 'Cause he said, woman, I am the Christ of which you And we'll have a look at the Magnolia tree. This one's called Star Wars. It's coming to the end of its flowering period.
Jesus, let me leave my water pot with you.
I love looking inside it. Oh yeah.
Are there any
So
here
pretty.
tonight that need to do the
So
same?
dainty.
Broken-hearted,
Beautifully
burdened,
made.
dying, sick or lost or lame. Do you need a touch from God, the wellspring of all power? You can leave your water pot with him this very hour.
And this area of my garden needs a bit of a water, I think. It's looking a bit dry. And I've also got some tulips planted over here. I should do really well. And there's the purple one that my friend Erin gave me. It's about ready to come out in flower. More tulips there. And around the corner. I've planted them in the corner of this beautiful urn. There's one of those purple flowers. I forget what it's called.
Years ago in Samaria, a woman went her way beneath the blazing desert sun to Jacob's well that day. She held upon her shoulders like a yoke.
And here we have in the lawn
Full of all
these
her
Freesias.
burdens and
As
the
I said, I
battles
just like
that
to
she
sprinkle
fought.
the seeds everywhere. And if they survive, they survive.
Arriving at the well just then, she did not realize a man was waiting patiently for her to lift her
Today's a good
eyes.
day, isn't it, Jack?
And as he spoke, she
have
was
beautiful
amazed
weather.
because he was a Jew. But she began to understand he was Messiah too. He said, "Woman,
I don't know if you can hear the bees.
I am the Christ,
I
of
can
which
see
you
them.
speak, the wellspring of everlasting life." She said, "Master, may I drink and be made new? Please let me leave my water pot.
Shall we go around the back? Will we? Oh, excuse you. Shall we go around the back? Come on. No licking.
I'm not told just what was said as the hour was getting late. But deep inside I seem to think he promised that he'd wait for her to go and tell the town just what he'd said and done. And in the end far more received salvation than just one. 'Cause he said, "Woman, I am the Christ of which you speak, the wellspring of everlasting
Oh, and I've
life."
spotted a beautiful
Master, may I drink and be
velvet.
made
It's
new?
called Black Velvet Rose, and it's got the most glorious scent.
Jesus,
And the Christmas lilies, they're beginning to make their appearance as well.
are there any here tonight that need to do the same? Broken-hearted, burdened, dying, sick or lost or lame.
Well, hello, birdies.
Do you need
Hello.
touch from
Now I'll
God,
just
the
go and
wellspring
turn the
of
sprinklers
all
off.
power?
So we can go for a walk down behind the house. We've got jasmine in flower along the edge. So it's a pretty walk. And we've got more Dutch iris over here. Couldn't remember the name before. But this is a Dutch iris. And I'm standing under my Manchurian pears, which provide a lovely lot of shade in summer. Right, the sprinklers are off. Let's have a look. And I've got hello. They're waiting for some seed. All right, come on. I don't like to give them too much seed because we want to encourage them to forage for themselves. There you go. Off you go. And that little birdie up there, they're very, very bossy. Very pretty bird. It's a lorikeet. But I don't like to encourage them. We even have a dove. And he can be bossy too, don't you? Oh, here he goes. And even though they're a bigger bird than the lorikeet, the king parrots, they're very frightened of the lorikeets. I just have to point my finger at them and they go away. Come on. All right. I can't stand here all day. All right, we'll go and have a look around here. The volunteer camellia is doing very well. There's Jasmine and more Freesias. And this is a small Magnolia. I can't remember its name, but it's a very tiny flower. And it comes out. One day when I get some time, I'm going to paint some sort of scripture and drawing on that panel. And some more freesias, wildly sown. Very pretty rose. There's the azalea and Diosma behind it.
Years ago in Samaria, a woman went her way beneath the blazing desert sun to Jacob's well that day. She held upon her shoulders like a yoke, a water pot, full of all her burdens and the battles that she fought. Arriving at the well just then, she did not realize a man was waiting patiently for her to lift her eyes. And as he spoke, she was amazed because he was a Jew. But she began to understand he was Messiah too.
This is a flowering pear.
I am the Christ of which you speak, the wellspring of everlasting life.
And the bees love it.
She said, Master, may I drink and be made new? Please let me leave my water pot
And
with
one
you.
last part of my garden
Oh, let me leave
is
my
the
water pot with you.
cherry tree.
We are not told just what was said as
Hoping
the
to get a good
hour was
crop this
getting
year.
late.
It's been a rather
Deep inside, I
beautiful
seem to
tree and
think
flower,
he promised
but
that he'd wait
hasn't produced many cherries, so I've had to plant
just what he'd said.
a Stella cherry next to it, which
In the end, far more receipts
pollinates
salvation
other
than just
trees, other cherry trees.
'cause he said,
But as you can see, the bees are loving this.
I'm the Christ of which you speak, the wellspring of everlasting life. She said, Master, may I drink and be made new?
Well, that's my spring garden. I hope you enjoyed the tour. And I'll be back again in another few weeks' time.
Leave my water.
Oh, somebody's laid an egg. Thank you, girls.
Are there any here tonight that need to do the same? Broken-hearted, burdened, dying, sick or lost or lame. Do you
And these are orchids.
touch from God, the wellspring of all?
And they were gifted to me by a Christian friend
Leave your water pot
who's since gone on to be with the Lord. It was over 10 years ago she gave me those.
I am the Christ of which you speak, the
Anyway, we'll talk to you again in a few weeks' time when roses are out.
Master, may I
And don't forget
be made new?
this truth.
Please let me leave my water pot with you.
God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting men's sins against them, and he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. 2 Corinthians 5:19. Are you reconciled to God today through Jesus Christ? I pray you are.
Years ago in Samaria, a woman went her way beneath the blaze blazing desert sun to Jacob's well that day. She held upon her shoulders like a yoke, a water pot, full of all her
And little
burdens
plants
and
my
the
grandson
battle that
Hayden
she
gave me.
fought.
They're going really well.
Arriving at the well just then, she did not realize a man was waiting patiently for her to lift her eyes. And as he spoke, she was amazed because he was a Jew. But she began to understand he was Messiah too. He said, "Woman, I am the Christ of which you speak, the wellspring of everlasting life." She said, "Master, may
I hope you enjoyed that tour of my spring garden. I'll be back in a few weeks' time when the roses are out. Until then, bye for now. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.
We are not told just what was said as the hour